Welcome to Friendeavor, the podcast, the weekly podcast where we explore the highs and lows of friendship with your hosts, Danielle and Kayla.
As we journey through life, our friendships often evolve and change, ebb and flow, and sometimes even come to an end. Danielle and I are lifelong advocates for the power of friendship, and we are here to guide all of us through the many challenges and joys that come with building and maintaining strong, meaningful connections with those around us.
Join us each week as we deep dive into the intricacies of friendship, from navigating conflicts to fostering new relationships and everything in between. With insightful interviews, personal anecdotes, and expert advice, Friendeavor is the perfect podcast for anyone looking to strengthen their bonds with the people they love.
So, whether you are on the go, taking care of chores, or just settling in, get ready to explore the world of friendship on Friendeavor, the podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Friendeavor. I'm your host, Danielle.
And I'm Kayla. Hey.
And we are so thrilled that you have decided to hang out with us for today. This is the place where we talk about random things before we even get on air. And then once we get on air, we continue to talk about random things. But Kayla and I just sat here for 10 minutes talking about our days. And we had a little bit of some interesting things happen to us today.
Yeah, very different days because Danielle deals with sixth graders all day, every day, 5 days a week. And I only work in person 2 days a week, and I work remote 3 days a week. So this was my day to work remote. So we had very different days.
Yours was very peaceful.
Very
probably
peaceful.
Breakfast at home.
Oh, yeah. All the things.
Yeah, mine was a it was just interesting. Kids are kids. This week we are diving into a topic that we have hinted around a lot. We've talked about a lot. This has been like a sub point to other episodes, but we haven't actually, I don't think, hit it head on, at least in the manner that we are today.
Right. Yeah. We haven't gone as in depth as we will today.
We're going to go over the very important topic of supporting your friends. Yes. What does that mean?
And what does it not mean?
And what does it not mean? That is, yes, Kayla, that is absolutely correct. What does it not mean? And we are also classic, just jump ahead, get ahead of ourselves people, and we're going to try not to do that, but I would like to bet myself $100 that we will at some point.
It's our subtitle. Getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes. All right. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the survey, which is a basis for a lot of the stuff that we talk about, or at least the topics we draw from, because it's from you guys. You guys took it. And so how can we best serve you? Well, we need to know how you feel about things and how you feel you can improve or not improve or whatever you want to do. 48% of people, Kayla, listen to this stat. People surveyed, 48%, that's almost half of the people surveyed said that all the time, when they wake up in the morning, when they go to bed at night, all the time, they support their friends.
That's why I don't do absolutes. I don't do that. I was not part of the 48%.
What do you think when you hear that?
Well, I don't think these people are straight up lying. They probably do think that they feel like supporting their friends all the time. Like, there's never a time where I'm like, whatever, I don't like my friends. So it might be a misinterpretation.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the other half of people are split. Actually, it's straight up 50% of people said that most of the time, and the other 2% from the 48 said sometimes. So there was no one who said that they never support their friends.
Well, that's good.
It's also interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's great, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. And so we're going to deep dive into what it means to support your friends. And there's like, from my preparation for this episode, my deep dive, my outline that I created for this, there's basically 6 kind of categories, if you will, 6 main areas that you can show your support. So let's dive into emotional support.
Very important.
There's a lot of ways that you can exercise this, from, helping people through tough times. Well, here we go. Let's why mumble about it when I can talk about it? First and foremost, listening actively. And as we go through these, I'm going to try to show you what it means to do something versus the negative of doing that. Okay, Kayla? You ready? Okay. Listening actively. So what does this mean? Now, pretty much everyone who's listening to this podcast probably knows what it means to be an active listener. But for those of you who don't or need a refresher, let's take this as an example. Someone shares a recent breakup with you. You know, your friend. It doesn't even have to be your best friend. And I would say that this episode is probably geared more toward that friend, good friend tier, those two tiers rather than your best friend, because you would think that by the time you hit the best friend tier, you would know how to support your friend.
Right.
Think. So we're going to try to, like, as you listen to this, vision this from that friend and good friend tier. A friend shares their concern about a recent breakup. You listen attentively. You're nodding. You're maintaining eye contact.
Yeah.
You are not interrupting them to say what they need to do or how they need to do it. And if a time does come that you need clarification or you need to help this person work through this and support them, ask open-ended questions. I took some psychology classes and counseling classes in, I think it was undergrad. I can't remember. It's been a few years, but and we did a whole segment about the art of an open-ended question. Not a question that you can answer yes or no to, or a short answer, but something that would evoke a response out of someone.
Right.
So if Kayla was going through something difficult and I really truly wanted to help her through it, I would ask something like, it sounds very corny, but it's extremely helpful if the person is receptive to this. How did that make you feel?
Right.
What are you feeling right now about this? Because if they can identify their feelings, well, that's step one, right? Identify the problem, identify how they're feeling. Or you can ask, or if you're not comfortable asking questions of diving a little bit deeper, just tell them that you're there for them.
Yeah.
You know, eye contact, nodding. All right, what it's not. What is active listening not? Well,
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick.
Well, I was getting ahead, so go ahead.
Okay. My sister told me the other day, and I just thought it was great. She said counseling is 70% listening, 20% asking good questions, and then 10% giving the advice, if it's even 10%. So I thought that was great because, and I think that applies to this here, although, you know, you don't have to be your friend's therapist. There can be negative things that come
but
out of
those
that.
same skills.
Those same skills, right. The Bible says, in a multitude of counselors there is safety. And if you look at the translation of that, it's not just like professional counselors. That's friends. So, you know, you really are, as a friend, you're a counselor. Yeah. That
reminded me of King, is it Rehoboam? I think that's how you pronounce it. Rehoboam, who he would not listen to the elders. He listened to his friends. So the counselors were like, the older elders were like, hey, buddy, your dad was kind of a terror. Show the people that you're better than that. Like, you know, give them tax breaks. Don't take their kids off to war. Like, you know, whatever. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. Let me ask my buds about that. So he goes and asks his buds about that, and they're like, no, tell him that your little pinky is bigger than he ever was, and like you think he was bad, just wait till you get me. And then he like is terrible, loses his kingdom, and it's awful, right? Like, I can't remember what book that's in. The King, I guess it would be in First Kings. And so he listened to people who thought they were supporting him. Supporting his kingdom and helping him become all powerful or whatever. But his version of taking a multitude of counselors was actually cutting off the other side, you know? Right. Instead of finding what would work, he just said, nope, I want me and my pals and those people who think the exact same way as me to be my counselors.
That's not a multitude.
Right. Yeah. So that's one version of the negative. Another one is like when a friend is sharing something important, you cut them off. You show disinterest. You're looking around the room. You're looking at your phone. You're making weird faces, like, you know, making odd noises or whatever. And then saying stuff that really shouldn't be said to anyone. Like, you're really overreacting. You're really overreacting. If you truly think that they are, first of all, you can say it way nicer.
Right.
And help them come to that conclusion. You were talking about how your sister said something about counseling. My mom said the same thing or something very similar. She's like, I'm really not there to tell them how to live their lives. I'm there to A, listen, and B, get them to the point where they realize what they need to do.
Right.
If I can post things in a certain way, if I can ask certain questions, if I can present certain scenarios, 9 times out of 10, they will come to the correct conclusion.
Yeah, that's good.
That's, yeah. That's being supportive.
I work in a middle school classroom, and yesterday I was helping a student. They're learning how to annotate papers. So like,
I hate teaching that.
The teacher kind of broke it down into sections and said, okay, first you're going to take each title of this. It was like a paper. It was like a story, informational text, whatever, front and back. And there were like 4 different titles. She said, you're going to take the title. You're going to say what you know about this title, what you don't know about this title, what would you like to know about this title. Then you're going to take each picture that's on the paper and you're going to say what you see in the picture. And you have to be as descriptive as possible. There were like 5 different sections of stuff they had to annotate. And so I was helping the student, and she was, just not wanting to be detailed. She wanted to get through it.
Yeah.
So there were like 2 dogs wrestling over, like tug of war over this toy. And she put 2 dogs. And I was like, okay, what are the dogs doing? Okay. Da-da-da-da. So we talked about what it means to annotate and how, you can understand something so much better when you break it apart like this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel. I mean, that's active reading. So active listening is kind of the same
Absolutely.
thing. You break it apart and you ask your friend questions and, okay, yeah, those are 2 dogs, but what are they doing? Oh, why do you think they're doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, what force is whatever,
Yeah. And when you hear this scenario being broken down, you can, as a student, when you're looking at a picture, if the dogs are just wrestling over the bone, you can latch onto the one thing about the bone and expound on that. You might not have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't have all the answers. But if you can find the lane in which you can be successful, you're going to be supportive and you're going to be helping that friend.
Right.
Another thing that I would caution you against is saying, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
To you, it might not be a big deal. But to them, it could be the end of the world. It could be something that their biggest fear. So for you to just broad brush like, no, that's not a big deal. And again, I want you to look at this through the lens of friend versus and good friend versus best friend. Once you're at that level with your best friend, you can have more blunt conversations with them.
Yeah.
But when you're just being a supportive friend to your general friend group or whatever, be cognizant of feelings and what they
For
can
sure.
do. And that leads us to our next point, empathy and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's feeling overwhelmed, you're not just saying, just get over it. That could be so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
No. You got to try to understand what they're going through.
Right.
Listen attentively, nodding, to all those active listening things that you're doing, and then saying, hey, I'm really sorry you're going through this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Instead of minimizing what they're going through, maybe try to relate. Don't say, well, my situation was so much worse. There's somebody I know who shall remain nameless, who everything that you've done, and everyone knows these kind of people. It's not just one person that I happen to know. And I know multiple people like this, but there's one person. Everything that you've done in life,
they've done better.
They have done more. They have done better. They have done worse. Whatever the
or
situation
they've gone
is,
through worse.
It's just, but have you done it like this? Like, okay, well, I remember when I don't know. I'm like, shh. And you just want to be like, I can't even have a conversation with you. And for those of you who are freaking out, like, oh, I'm just trying to relate. Okay, if you're so worried about it that you're just trying to relate, first of all, that's probably not you. It's typically the people who are not aware, they're not self-aware enough, are the ones who are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And also think about something. If you're just relating to someone, that same thing happened to me. Not, well, you don't even know, but it's like, blah, 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 with that, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you are in a situation of empathy and understanding, then you will be able to put yourself in their shoes and understand their feelings, even if you don't agree with their perspective.
Right.
That's a huge part too.
Yeah.
Just showing empathy can make them feel less alone in whatever fight they're fighting.
Yeah.
We also have the last piece of our emotional support category is offering encouragement. So you have told them, hey, I don't even know how you're dealing with this. I'm so sorry that you're there, but I'm here for you. Providing words of comfort, reassurance. This is not the end of the world. And especially if you're an apostolic, a Christian, you believe in the Bible, you are, whatever stage of Christianity you espouse to, you have the ultimate comforter.
Yeah.
The wonderful counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the ability to, hopefully, offer words of peace and encouragement that the regular guy on the street would not be able to.
Right.
So utilize that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not alone. Help them feel not alone by offering that encouragement.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk specific examples of the offering encouragement. Say you got a friend who is nervous about a job interview, and you remind them of their strengths, their past successes. You're building them up, and you're saying you've prepared so well. Like, that's something, like, remind them, hey, you've got this.
Yeah.
You have prepared for this. They would be so lucky to have you. Not only should you believe in yourself, but just know that I believe in you.
Yes.
And that's just an element of encouragement that would support someone in that kind of situation.
Right. My sister this past weekend just had multiple job interviews. She had her third one today. But we were telling her this weekend all these things, like what you just said. I believe in you. You look at all your past successes, all this stuff. And my mom said, there is no doubt in my mind, or there should be no doubt in their mind, or whatever. And my sister said, that's not very helpful. Obviously, my mom's just being a mom, saying there should be no doubt in their mind. She's like, all right, well, I'll just go in there and tell them, my mom said there should be no doubt in your mind.
That reminds me of when we were waiting for Brett's bar results. And I was like, oh, yeah, you definitely passed. And he was just like,
he was so mad when people would say that.
You're touching me. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, bro. I mean, they're trying to be encouraging.
He had a whole plan that if he didn't pass, he just wasn't going to talk about it at all. He wasn't going to send texts out. He'll just let people ask him, which is really funny. So funny.
And so I guess I can understand where he's coming from, though, because it would be a really tough place to be in. And so that's one thing to remember when you are offering encouragement. Don't make it seem false. And those people weren't. No. They weren't. But they also had no idea. I feel like they weren't empathizing with him. I feel like they were just trying to offer support and encouragement. And when you are being a supportive friend, you got to balance the two. Endless support and platitudes of you're just the most amazing person in the history of the world can fall very flat if you are not showing some understanding of what they're going through.
And you let them know you're proud of them either way. So before the job interview, you're like, I'm proud of you no matter what. I'm proud of you for doing this interview.
Your life will not end if this does not work out. And we can make a plan together of how you can be successful. Again, it's all about, like, you gotta, like, tone, you know, and you don't have to say something stupid like, well, there's worse things happening to other people. You know, if their dream crashes right before you, well, if that's the worst thing that happened to you, then you've lived a pretty good life. I hate that. I can't stand that. I'm like, let me feel what I'm feeling. I need to process this. And if this is the worst thing that happened to you, you've had a pretty good day. Stop it. Stop it. Can't stand that. All right, let's move into our second category of, if you will, practical support. Being available. That's that practical support. We've talked about that in I think types of quality time, that episode where we talked about how an act of service can be a version of quality time if done with the person. So being available, making time for them, whether it's to talk or hang out or provide a distraction from that stress or de-stress that they're in. Let's talk about an example. Your friend calls you late at night because they're feeling anxious. They got some anxiety going on. And even though it's not convenient, you still pick up the phone. And you talk with them until they feel calmer.
Right.
One of the funniest stories that I shouldn't share on there, so I'm not going to, but I'll tell you, Kayla, later, has to do with someone that I know calling their mother
in the middle of
the night. There was this. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm just gonna tell it because it's hilarious. It is so funny. I won't say who the people are, if they're related to me or not. But oh, hold on, I have to die laughing. Just like, okay, I hope I can get through this without losing it. So, I just told Kayla who it was so that she would be able to fully appreciate this story. So, the year was 2006, June 2006 to be precise. And there was a huge storm raging in Michigan. I mean, it was thunder, lightning, just a really big thunderstorm. And this person that I'm talking about calls their mother and screams on the phone.
This person was a teenager at the time, right? Early 20s?
No, she wasn't. So she was probably like mid-20s. She's like probably like 25. Calls her mom during the storm, middle of the night, and screams, "I'm going to hell!"
Oh my word!
It was June 6th, 2006. So 6/6/06. The storm is raging. She is feeling the intense fear. It's 6/6/6.
Oh my!
The storm is raging. She calls her mother, and she was not in church. "I'm going to hell!" It just was like, this is the end of the world.
Oh, no.
This is the end of the world. Okay, and her mother. Again, we're talking practical support here, okay, and what to do and what not to do. She goes, "Well, I'm going to bed," and then hang up on her.
Stop it! Because that sounds like what the other one would do, not her! Oh my word! I'm going to bed!
So every year, I don't know if anyone else celebrates this day. I tend to remind my family because I'll be like, you know what? 18 years ago. And I'll remind them, and I just privately celebrate because it's the funniest thing. It's one of my favorite stories. So when it comes to practical support,
maybe prayer through.
Prayer through and then go to sleep. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. So what to say, what not to say. In that instance, obviously, she was experiencing some very real feelings, but she also knew what she needed to do if she was truly scared of that. And so, yeah.
That is...
Yeah. Anyways, that is one of my personal holidays that I celebrate. Another way to offer practical support is those tangible things. Tasks or challenges or materials or supplies or something that they need in a difficult time, running errands, helping with projects. There's been so many wonderful people in our lives, in my family's lives, who, when the time has come for us to move, whether that be across the country or across town, that people have chipped in and helped us and didn't expect anything in return, but their help was just absolutely invaluable. Like, we couldn't have done it without them, or we could have, but it would have been nightmarish.
Yeah.
So everything from taking someone to the airport, you know, which instantly I need someone to do that for me in December. So if anyone out there in Radio Land is listening, I will take a ride. But doing something like that all the way to helping them paint their house or move or something is that tangible help.
Yeah.
Lastly, in the practical support, you got that problem solving together, collaborating to find a solution. That could be, brainstorming. Maybe the person doesn't know what they're going to do with their life. In that story I just told, the person on the other end of the phone did not help them work through a problem solving together. Like, A, repent, or B, go back to church or anything like that. But that's just one example. If your friend is facing a difficult decision about whether maybe to accept that new job, they got the interview, they got the job, and they don't know if it's the right move, well, you can help them. Pros and cons, that kind of thing. That is definitely a supportive move.
This past weekend, my sisters and I, it was a way late Mother's Day gift.
That was so cute.
Oh, we took my mom to a spa in Lodi, and we were just there for hours, and we're all like in the hot tub, and my sisters helped me make a pros and cons list. We talked about different options for different things that I'm wanting to do, and it was great. It was problem solving together and getting everyone's feedback.
I love it.
It was support.
Here's one way of not being supportive. If your friend tries to talk to you about that tough topic and you quickly change the subject because you feel uncomfortable. Again, we're talking friend, good friend. This is not some stranger on the street. This is someone that you have a relationship with.
Yeah.
You could feel them feeling unsupported.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to stop right here and preface something. There are some things that are not your business that people will try to make your business. Okay? Let's keep first things first. If it's a regular old problem they need your help through, then be supportive. If they're trying to drag you into something you don't need to be dragged into, and I'm not going to go into specifics, just use your imagination. Try redirecting them into a healthy topic or a healthier version of that situation that they're in, because they could just be looking for someone to side with them. No, that's not gonna do anything for anybody. All right, in our third category of supporting your friends, you've got that moral support that kind of goes along with the practical support and the emotional support, but we're gonna go a little bit more specific. Standing by them. You know, life has a way of humbling people or putting them in situations where they can feel alone, and offering your loyalty, that you're not going to abandon them when times get tough or rough. Standing by their side. It could mean speaking up for them in situations where they're being disparaged, whether in front of their face or not. It could mean just being there for them when their loneliest hour is. I'm here for you. I got your back. You don't have to condone what they did or anything like that, but just them knowing that someone's in their corner could make the difference between things ending horrifically or them crawling out of the hole that they're in and becoming who they're meant to be.
And that's just being a Christian.
Yeah.
You don't judge people or look down on them for whatever mistakes they made. Yeah, you don't condone it, but we are not the judge. We are not the ultimate judge.
Right.
And Pastor just talked about this last night. Anyone who says they're perfect is lying.
Yeah.
Everybody falls short of the glory of God. Nobody is in a place to not show forgiveness because God forgives. Nobody's in a place to judge.
Yeah. That sermon you did a couple weeks ago about the mercy, I needed to hear that. Everyone needed to hear that. But it was just like, it was such a reminder to me of what it means to be a Christian. You know, I am guilty of this. Other people are guilty of this. Of just feeling like we know what's best. And like, because I can see it a certain way, therefore that's the way it should be, because obviously that just makes sense. But the mercy of God is not mine to dole out, mine to dictate, or mine to say, hey, this is how you need to do it exactly. And in this instance, you're not telling the people what they need to do or how they need to do it. You're just like, hey, I'm here for you. While you're navigating this with the people who are qualified to help you with this, I'm just the person who you can lean on.
Yes.
Like, if your house falls down, you might not be a qualified builder who can put it back together, but I can stand there and hold a beam in place while it's getting rebuilt.
There you go.
You know, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be the general contractor of the refurbishment project in order to be there for that person.
Yes, that's so good.
During that difficult time, that moral support, when that moral support is needed, encouraging healthy choices. Hey, what if you did this instead of that? Do you think that would be better, worse? And again, putting the decision in their hand, just guiding them. Like, hey, I know you're going through this. Have you considered seeking professional help? Not, you need to go to therapy. Wow, you know, tone. Just being encouraging and encouraging positive habits. Hey, let's go to the gym. I know you always feel good when we go there. Let's go. I'm on my way to get you right now. Not giving them room to say no when they're down and out. And then, of course, during those difficult times, you'll see instances of that you need to respect their boundaries. You can want to be so supportive, but in those instances where it's just, it's not going to work and they need space, you can't force yourself into their arms or force them into your arms when they really need just a breather. They just need some clarity.
Especially if they have a spouse. You really need to respect those boundaries. Like, I'm not going to come over to your house unannounced anytime I want to, even if I think it's helpful, because you have a family and you have a spouse. So
another element of this moral support is, even if you are one of the people in the conflict, say you and your friend had an argument about something serious, not about where you're going for dinner, but something, you know, and they need some space to work through it, or at least just, like I said, a breather. don't pressure them into, we got to figure this out. We got to resolve this conflict. You know, give them a little bit of space, respect the request. And even though you want to resolve things, just let them do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it to the extent that your friendship dies because you're like, well, when they're ready, they're going to come crawling back. Be mature about it.
Yeah.
You know. That goes into our next segment of respect and honesty. Those kind of sound like buzzwords for us, but they're so important, and we're going to nail them every instance that we get. Providing that constructive feedback when necessary, but doing it in a kind and caring way. This is what you need to do, and this is how you need to do it. And you're an idiot for doing it this way, and you're wrong, and you're wrong, and you're wrong. That's not respectful. Yeah. In fact, next week, we are doing a who, what, where, when, why, how on respect. So gear up for that, and we'll do a deep dive into respect. But respecting differences of of execution. A lot of times this day and age, respecting differences is vast differences that could cross moral and, you know, boundaries, but just the way that they would do it. I think of a situation where a friend of mine was not being, they weren't in a positive environment. And what I wanted to do was storm in there and be like, you guys are idiots. How dare you do this? Blah, blah, blah. In fact, I wanted her to do that on her own behalf because I couldn't do it for her. And she's like, no, that's not how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this other way. Well, I respected that. I mean, I didn't agree with it, but that was the difference. You know, I respected her different way of doing it. It worked out. It probably would have worked out my way too, but it would have been a lot messier. And a lot more people would have gotten hurt.
You guys are idiots.
You guys are idiots. And you need to know it. But yeah, that's the differences that we're talking about here.
Another story from my middle school classroom.
Those are just... there's no end of material from middle school classrooms.
Right? So yesterday, the teacher was talking about constructive criticism in English class. And he walks up to a student and he goes, "That is terrible writing. You should never write another paper again." He said, "That's criticism, but is that constructive?" She goes, "No." So he goes, "Okay, so what would make that constructive criticism?" And she thought, in her mind, saying it nicely and in a more positive way was constructive criticism.
The same thing, saying the same
same thing, but not offering help. So she comes back at him and she goes, "That paper is not very well written. You need to learn how to write papers, whatever." And he goes, "Well, that's not constructive either. It's also criticism, but are you helping that person construct a better paper just by telling them they need to?" I mean, it's nicer, but
your tone is nicer, but your message is the same.
Right. He's like, you also need to add on that extra help. Like, do you want me to get you some resources? Do you want me to proofread your paper for you? Stuff like that. So I thought that was a great reminder that constructive criticism needs to be positive and nice. It also needs to be followed up with a help. Constructive.
Yeah, another example that we can find in that being honest is like if a friend is making a decision that you think might hurt them, say that they're entertaining a relationship with someone who's not a good fit for them. You know them, and again, you're close enough to this person to have a honest conversation about it. Yeah. You share your thoughts respectfully. Hey, I really care about you, and I don't know that this would be the right person for you. I don't know that this is the person who deserves your kindness and love or whatever. Not everyone's going to be receptive to that. In fact, I would say that most people wouldn't be, even though you're really close to them.
For sure.
There are people who I have wanted to warn, but I just, even though I love them and I care about them, I knew it wouldn't have been receptive. So, and I would not want them to end up with that person in the long run and then always think of me as the person who, quote unquote, tried to break them up.
Right.
That's like, I literally, I wouldn't rather them get hurt, but I would not want to be viewed as the person who tried to.
Because that'll be forever. Like,
yeah, forever.
Like, she warned me against him, and like, look at us now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then later on down the road,
on the other side, if they get out of it and it was not the situation that was right, why didn't you warn me? You wouldn't have listened. You wouldn't have heard me. Like, so
Yeah, that's
all that
so
to say
tough.
that there are, it's very few instances that your honesty is, for at least for the relationship side of things, is probably going to be super effective.
Yeah.
But here's the biggest point about the honesty. This is like this is really the overarching main theme of the entire episode, is that you do not have to condone behavior under the guise of support.
Right. Yeah.
That is so corrupted in our society today. I love you and I support all of your decisions. Anything that you choose to do, I support you.
Yeah.
No.
That's not support.
No.
Yeah.
What if they're making the worst decision of their life? What if it is super unhealthy? What if they have reckless behavior?
Yeah.
You do not have to condone behaviors under the guise of support. You would be doing them a distinct disservice by just, oh, la-di-da, anything you want to do, I support you. What good can come out of that?
Right. I think about when I was a teenager and depression just started becoming like quote unquote normalized, which I think now it's low-key celebrated.
Yeah, it
not
is.
just normalized, but celebrated.
Under
like,
the guise,
woohoo!
again, of because I recognize it and I can manage it.
Yeah, right. So it was just now becoming like people were more aware of it and it was being talked about, and my little...
It was like quite a stigma.
Yes. My little 15-year-old self like had an Instagram, so I'm reading all these things, and I was in bed a lot, and I told my mom, you just don't know. Depression makes you want to sleep a lot. You just don't know. And she's like, that may be the case, but I'm going to support you, and I'm telling you to get up out of bed right now. Go brush your teeth. Go take a shower. You know, and that's what support is. It's not, oh yeah, well, you just stay in bed until you feel like you're ready.
Yeah. That's condoning the behavior.
Right.
And what would you have learned, especially as a kid, as if that had been allowed? Like, that would be...
Right.
That would be wild.
You don't learn to get some grit and solve your problems.
Yeah.
You're just going to let it attack you until when?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a huge societal issue. And it's not a bad thing to destigmatize depression.
Oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
bad thing to celebrate it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I love how we completely unintentionally, at least I think it's unintentional, just flow one segment into another, because we were literally taking celebration, that was a negative celebration, but into how you support your friends by celebrating their success. Now, I know we did an episode about celebrating milestones, but I have a more recent example, so I'm going to use it. But it's just your general sharing in their joy. Like, there's no new components to this that we talked about last time, for the actual nitty gritty of the concept, but celebrating achievements, milestones, positive moments as if they were your own. Boosting their confidence, reminding them that their strengths and successes were earned when they're doubting themselves, when they think that they don't, that's what support is lifting up somebody. Now, here's my recent example. I have a friend who recently secured a place to live in Elk Grove, and I'm in a situation where I really want my own place super bad, and I have for years, but it is extremely difficult.
It's so difficult.
Single income, it's really, really, really hard, both in inventory and in pricing. It is just, it's outrageous. And if I did secure a place, even at the lowest price point that we have in the city, I would be strapped. And it's just it's really depressing, honestly, if I dwell on it for too long. But my friends, they were able to get a place, and I very, very easily, by my own flesh and by my own nature, could have become bitter at her success. But I decided from the moment that she told me that they were even trying to get this place, that I was going to actively choose, and this is no pat on my back, this is just something that I am doing to better myself, is that I would actively choose to thank God and praise God for the way that he made the Lord on their behalf. Because if he did it for them, he can do it for me.
Absolutely.
And if I just kicked the can down the road, I don't know why I can't get a place. Why? Just because I'm not married? I'm in my most important. I can't get a house and blah blah blah. That could easily become my spirit and become my outlook on things. But I refuse to let that be the instance. So every time I think of them, every time I think of my own situation, every time her name pops up on my phone, every time I see her across the church, I actively choose to thank God for him blessing them, because he's no respecter of persons. And I'm not going to get bitter, and I'm going to support and celebrate what God has done in her life. And when God opens that door for me, literally opens the door, I know she'll be the first person supporting me and loving me and thanking God for what he did for me.
I love that.
So there's no point in falsifying their boosting their confidence. It kind of goes back to that other thing we were talking about earlier, saying like, oh, well, you got this, but they don't know if they have this. You boost their confidence,
and then if they don't,
ways.
Right. If they don't have it, if they failed the test, or they didn't get the interview, or whatever, then it's like, man, I let everyone down.
It's gonna make them go even lower.
Yeah.
I think of people who say encouraging things, especially to say like someone is sick. Oh, well, I know they're gonna get better. I know that they're going to be healed. Like, the faith is, you have got to have faith, 100%. But
that's so tough.
Like,
yeah,
it's so tough, because if you're like, well, they're absolutely going to get over this. It's absolutely going to be fine. God is a way maker, but you are not God.
Yeah.
And his ways are higher. And for you to just, well, yeah, that's definitely going to be the way. No, you don't know that. Yeah. And then when it doesn't happen, you could be the person who caused their faith to be shaken, because you falsified the confidence, you falsified the whatever. And that's kind of a dire example about, illness and death and all that. But like the test, like the whatever, have a healthy boundary and like a healthy version of supporting in the confidence building.
I just got out of a tutoring session right before I came. And she's taking a test tomorrow, so we studied for the test in our session. And I told her right before I left, I did not tell her, you're going to pass the test. I don't know if she will. But I told her, hey, I know that if you focus and you really try to think about the things that we talked about today, that you would do well, and that your answers will be you'll do the best that you can if you don't rush through this test.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah. You will have done your best effort. If you do these things, it'll be your best effort. Not if you do these things, you'll ace it. It's the growth versus fixed mindset. Like they say, don't compliment the actual work that they do, compliment the effort that they do it in. Not to the point of like you're handing out participation. Oh, you get an A because you tried really hard. No, you are capable of growth, because look how much you've come just to get here.
Yeah.
You must be so proud of yourself. So look, what are we going to do next time? And it's supporting them and encouraging them and growing them. And hopefully a healthy home with loving parents will be that kind of elevation and support for their kids, instead of, well, you're really stupid. I can't believe you failed that. I just taught you how to do that. How did you fail that?
Yeah.
That's not support. That's not supporting your family. That's not supporting your friends. So that's a great example of not only celebrating success, but elevating their belief in themselves. Our last element of the supporting your friends episode is being a consistent presence.
Yeah.
What does this mean? Making an effort to stay connected.
Yeah.
Checking in regularly. Ask how they're doing. Showing that you care.
Right.
Showing you care offers more support than can even be quantified.
Yeah. And there are times when you can't physically be there every time your friend needs celebration or needs a crying shoulder, that you physically can't.
Right.
But it's really helpful to just write things down. Like, set a reminder, text so-and-so today, check in on them, ask how they're doing.
Yeah.
It sounds so silly to have that reminder pop up on your phone, because it sounds like you don't care, but you do.
But you cared enough to remind yourself.
Right. I have to have things written down. I will forget. Everyone who works with me knows I have to have things written down.
Please look at how many notebooks I have on my desk to help me remember stuff.
Oh my word.
This is my lesson planning weekly guide. This is my regular planner.
That's so cute.
Month, like week to week.
The
Like that's
colors
at
are
a
so
glance.
cute. Wow.
Thank you. And this is my
See?
taking notes during class. I
Yeah.
have 3 on my desk because I can't be successful without having a visual cue.
Cannot.
And I will forget.
Yeah.
Literally, I will forget.
Yeah.
The other day I had a makeup test session scheduled for 10:30, and I didn't have a pop-up reminder in my calendar. And it was at 10:30. I look at my calendar, it's 10:32, and I was like, because it's not in my regular rotation. I gotta write it down.
Yeah.
So utilize the tools at hand to be successful.
Yes.
Friendship in the digital age is something that we've touched on a lot, and I think we may have done. Yeah, we did. We did a long distance friends episode. So if you're looking for tips and tricks, go check that one out.
Right. Just a quick text like, hey, how was your first day on the new job today?
Yeah.
You know, a FaceTime too, but you know, if you don't have time for that, then text is great.
And then lastly, being reliable. Your friends are not going to think that you support them if you just flit in and out of their lives.
Yeah.
They can count on you, again, not to the abusive point where they're taking up your entire life or you're taking up theirs or whatever. But just showing up when you say you will. If you're going to meet for lunch, meet for lunch. If you're going to get coffee, get coffee. I'm very guilty. I'm trying to do better about it, but saying like, oh, we should get together. No, I really want to.
Yeah.
I genuinely want to. And I am actively pursuing making our friendship stronger and showing that I'm supportive.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on that behavior thing one more time before we close, is that when it comes to support, all these things are important. All these balances, all these versions of it, all these categories of support are super important. But when it comes down to it, you do not have to condone certain behavior under the guise of support.
Yeah.
You don't have to get roped into situations that are not your business under the guise of support. So be a supportive friend. Love your friends. Be there for them. But make sure that you are doing it in the correct way so that you yourself can have the energy and have the capacity to support them for a lot longer than just the one situation demands.
Yeah.
And they'll be around too. Thank you so much for stopping by Friendeavor the podcast this week. This was what, episode 6?
Yes,
of season
2.
Supporting your friends. 2 weeks from this episode. So not episode 7, but episode 8 is the long-awaited return of... Who is it, Kayla?
Monique McMurray.
Monique McMurray is coming back on the podcast. You guys loved her.
To talk
we
about
love
a
her.
topic that is so... Oh, it's going to be so
the
good.
topic to end all topics. Should we tell them what it is?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, should I talk about the title? Always the bridesmaid, never the bride?
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to title it? Okay.
It seems rude. Maybe we'll change it. Basically, what we're talking about is Monique has been, we're just give you a sneak preview. She's been in 5 million weddings, I think. She's been in so many weddings.
So many weddings.
And she is a delight and she's hilarious. And basically, she's seen it all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, she has.
She is coming on for a little tell-all, an anonymous tell-all. We're not going to bust people out specifically.
Oh, no.
But you, as a future bridesmaid or as a future bride, can help put these lessons in your pocket and take them into the future. Because, oh man, that's gonna be such a good episode. Yeah, we might have to split that into a 2-parter depending on how long we talk, because I want to do it justice. But
we are not here to judge people who have bridesmaid drama. I had some, so definitely not here to judge. My sister told me right before, right when I got engaged, because she had just recently gotten married, and she goes, Kayla, just so you know, weddings bring out the worst in people. So don't take things personally. Don't think that your friendships are all just going to end. She goes, weddings bring out the worst in people. I was like, and I found it to be true.
And you know, I have a theory about that. I'll save it for the recording. But hopefully we've left you with some tantalizing tidbits. But yeah, I can't wait. I cannot believe how many weddings she's been in. Yeah. And she's coming back. You guys love her. We love her. And we cannot wait to hear what she's saying. So 2 weeks. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with us this week. We will see you next time on Friendeavor the podcast.
See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Friendeavor the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you enjoyed today's content, leave a review and share with a friend. You can find the show notes on our website, www.friendeavor.net, and in the description of this episode.
Friendship is a journey. It's an endeavor. We'll see you next time on Friendeavor.